What's up, guys? Welcome back to the HCP podcast. As always, joined here by my co-host Joey. Before we get started on everything, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. There's still a good percentage of you out there that are watching the videos every single week, and you're not subbed to the channel. If you want to support us, make sure you're sub and click the bell so you know when we upload. Of course, if you didn't really get the memo or just didn't get the message last week, uploads were a little bit different, and they're going to continue to be different for the rest of the year. It kind of sucks that the NBA finally just started to have news coming out, but we're going to continue with what we're doing. We still enjoy talking about football. With all of that said, let's get into week 10 and then on to week 11, starting off with Thursday night football. Indianapolis, their defense is still great. I thought this was going to be one of the games where they'd be like, yeah, you're going up against a great offense. A.J. Brown got completely shut down. Derrick Henry, he had like 103 rushing yards, but they just couldn't get into the end zone. 17 points in the first half for Tennessee, none in the second half. How legit is Indianapolis? Because I like Indianapolis. I liked them from the beginning. I knew their defense was going to be elite. Adding DeForest Buckner, I knew they were going to be the top dog in that division, and they still are. So what do you think of this Indianapolis team?
It's gonna be fun to watch that race to see who wins that division. I mean, they're both very evenly matched. Do they play again, or they already played twice?
I'm pretty sure they play again. The only thing
Yeah.
yeah.
It's gonna be fun to watch that. That'll basically tell us what we need to know. But Colts defense is legit, man. They've been legit all season.
Yeah, the only thing that's separating them two from competing for that division is themselves, because everyone else is just I believe the Broncos are in that division and they're not really competing right now, and neither are the Texans. You know, we don't even want to talk about them. They're rebuilding right now. But yeah, I mean, the only thing that I feel like Tennessee has a fault is they really do need to work on that secondary. You know, adding Jadeveon Clowney in the offseason, yeah, he hasn't really done much. Nobody expected him to do much, but he's done some things. He's done some things that made it a little bit worthwhile for them. He showed flashes in his first game, but I haven't really heard his name since. But yeah, I mean, their secondary is atrocious, and I mean, they showed that. They let Phillip Rivers look great in that game too. And so did Naheem Hines, you know, one of the best performances of the week. And then Washington, Detroit, great game. I didn't expect this game to be great, but Washington looks so much better with Alex Smith on the field. I mean, Terry McLaurin getting hella targets. J.D. McKissick getting a lot of targets. Antonio Gibson, one of the best running back performances of the week, didn't really get a lot of yards, but once again, Washington isn't a team that really gets carries because Alex Smith checks down so much. But Antonio Gibson does look like the better running back there, even though J.D. McKissick is getting more snaps. I feel like Gibson over there is the more consistent back. What do you think about this? I like this running game over there, over in Washington. I don't know what it is about it. I really like that running game over there. What do you think about it? More specifically, not only the football teams, but also Detroit, because DeAndre Swift looks really good right now.
Yeah, speaking of DeAndre Swift, his stock really went up in fantasy. I mean, Antonio Gibson and McKissick stocks are going up. They're all three really on the rise, young running backs. Alex Smith looked really good. Heartbreaking loss for Washington, but I'm sure they're. I don't think Washington's gonna win this division, but they're out there playing hard. They got a tough schedule coming up. They're really gonna have to pull it together if they want to get some wins.
No doubt. And speaking of that Alex Smith guy, you know, probably one of the greatest comeback stories that I've ever seen. Honestly, we said that Big Ben was going to be the comeback player of the year, but with how he's looked, if he can win this division, I don't even think that win the division. Besides, now that he's got the starter job, he looked great out there. Is he now the leader? Because Big Ben, yeah, Steelers are undefeated, but when you're talking about the amount of effort that Alex Smith had to put in, I mean, it's been like 2.5 years since he started or something like that. I mean, that is way bigger of a comeback, in my opinion, than Big Ben. I think he's the leader when it comes to that award. What about you?
For sure. I mean, if he gets a few wins, that'll definitely lock it in for him. But I mean, even just playing after what happened to him, that's very impressive. I think he obviously deserves it, especially if he can get a few wins with this team. But Ben Roethlisberger's still in the race, definitely.
No doubt, not only just playing, but playing great. And then let's get into Seattle versus Los Angeles. I said Los Angeles was going to win this game last week because their defense has been looking great. They've had the best, one of the best, arguably the best passing defense in the league for the whole season now. Jalen Ramsey played great against DK, completely locked him up. And their rushing defense has been kind of stepping up as well, which that leads to the question. We talked about this earlier, and we have to bring it up now. We said maybe the defense is going to hold back Russ. Maybe it's going to be the lack of plays that his defense is going to set him up to make. Well, now Russell Wilson can't even make those plays. I mean, he had a horrible game. Yeah, it's one game, but he's been very turnover heavy in these past couple of weeks. I feel like Russell Wilson's MVP race is over because you got guys like Kyler Murray having an amazing year. Patrick Mahomes being Patrick Mahomes. I mean, those guys are going to start leading the race, not to mention Aaron Rodgers. Russ, you were on fire, dude. And then it kind of just starts going down. You know, you can have all the touchdowns in the world, but same thing with Jameis Winston. What does he have, like 8 picks on the year, Russell Wilson does? That's not good. That's not Russell Wilson-esque type play, especially compared to last year. If he was putting up last year's numbers, he'd have a better chance. What about you? Do you think his race is over?
No, it's definitely not over. He's got to pick it up though. If he has another one of these type of games, then you could say it's over. But I don't think. I think this is a bad game for him. Patrick Mahomes is definitely, I think, in the lead right now after what Russ did. You could say Kyler Murray. I'm not really like Kyler Murray too much for MVP this year because of all the interceptions he throws. That's just not really too appealing to the people that vote for MVP. But definitely, Mahomes is the front runner for me right now. If Russell Wilson can get back on his tear the next few games, I think people will look at him a little different. I mean, it was a tough defense. His team was just out of it. He played bad.
No doubt. Yeah, and then I hate that I have to say this every week because it makes me look stupid, but I won't say game of the year, but I'll say ending of the year because holy crap, dude. That is the best like 40 seconds of football I've ever watched. I don't know what the hell you're supposed to do as the Bills. Oh, I do. Play coverage. 3 guys on DeAndre Hopkins, and he made y'all kids. Kids, he's a grown man. He didn't even have that amazing of a day when it comes to everything before that, but just that catch, I'm sorry. I'm giving DeAndre Hopkins Offensive Player of the Week. There is no way. He had 127 yards, 7 receptions, a touchdown, of course, because of the one at the end. It's not the greatest week, but how he got there and what that did for his team is the most important thing when it comes to offense, and that's making big plays and scoring. And D-Hop made it able. Some people would give it to Kyler Murray. I wouldn't really do that because D-Hop really was the one who gave them this win. I mean, you could have said the Bills would have been the Offensive Player of the Week because they basically gift wrapped it to him. It seemed like they didn't even try to go up for the ball. But yeah, I'm giving D-Hop Offensive Player of the Week. You can say what you want about it. Cardinals are looking phenomenal right now. But one thing I want to touch on, first, I want to hear what you have about the game, yada, yada, yada. But after that, I do want to touch on how much could the Cardinals do when it comes to, because they look really good right now. Could they pull off something big? But I want to hear your thoughts on the game.
On the game, that was a very entertaining game. Definitely the game of the week, possibly game of the year, as you like to say. Every week there's a new game of the year.
And they're good.
Yeah, Diggs played well. Not Gilmore. Hopkins played well. Kyler Murray played well. The Cardinals are a different beast now, man. They're such a good team this year. They're definitely, I see them making a playoff run this year at some point. And yeah, I think they're going to win that division. It looks close, but we're going to see. We're going to see. It's going to be interesting.
And speaking on that playoff run, I did want to touch. A lot of people are saying now with how good the Cardinals are, because, you know, every time I do say game of the year, the Cardinals are being brought up in it a lot. They really are. The Cardinals have been brought up in like 2 or 3 of the past games. I've said, oh my God, this is game of the year contender. But, you know, Larry Fitzgerald, it's seeming like it might be his last season. Everyone's saying, Kyler, you got the perfect formula for it. You look great. Y'all are unstoppable right now. Do it. Make a run for the Super Bowl. I would love to see it. Cardinals in the Super Bowl. I think, especially in more specifically the NFC Championship, Cardinals Bucks, I feel like would be a great matchup. How far do you see this Cardinals team going?
It's hard to tell right now. Their defense is pretty bad. You gotta step it up on defense if you want to win those playoff type of games. But the offense has been doing so much that it's been canceling out the terrible defense, kind of like the Seahawks. But I think they can get pretty far. I mean, maybe an NFC Championship, maybe around below that, but we're gonna definitely see. It's a very impressive, exciting team to watch.
Yeah, more specifically on Cliff Kingsbury, the coach over there. It depends on how the Cardinals end up. If the Cardinals end up putting up a great run at the end of the season and they end up winning that division, I wouldn't be surprised to see Kingsbury come home with the Coach of the Year award over Brian Flores or Mike Tomlin. But next game up, Sunday Night Football, you're very happy about that win, but it took a tsunami to stop Lamar on that last drive. That I feel bad for them. Baltimore looked banged up. All praise out to Nick Boyle. That was a horrible injury. That really was bad to watch. But yeah, New England, I don't think they look terrific when it comes to everything and consider, but they got stuff done when they needed to. Their running game looks good. More specifically, Damian Harris looks really good. I think that was his third 100-yard performance of the year. What are your thoughts on this game? Obviously,
The run game is legit in New England. They gashed the Ravens plenty of times. Harris looks very impressive for a rookie, man. He's gonna be a stud some point in his career. Jacoby Myers again with another big game. Cam Newton still struggling a little bit in the passing game, overthrowing a few big time plays that would have set the game way far apart than it was. He's got to get that under control. Those deep balls that he's missing on wide open receivers. But New England's looking a lot better. I'm excited to see what they can do and maybe try to get above the Dolphins somehow. Try to make a little bit of a run in this division, but it's going to be tough. A lot more tough division than they usually have to play against.
Because Tua's out there leading that Dolphins team to a great run. I believe
they still have to play the Bills twice.
They still do have to play the Bills twice. But more specifically on the Baltimore side of things, yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the season, I said because of how easy their schedule was, I said the Ravens were going, I think it was either 13-3. I'm pretty sure it was 14-2 that I went with because they're coming off of an insane year with Lamar. They went 14-2 last year with the schedule that they had, and now they get the easiest schedule. Well, the Ravens fooled us. They fooled all of us. But how much is it? Is it the Ravens fooling us, or is it more specifically Lamar fooling us?
I don't want to put all of it on Lamar, man. His weapons suck. His wide receiver one sucks. He can't run routes. He gets bullied by corners. J.C. Jackson was just he didn't let anything up on Hollywood. He doesn't have a number one receiver. He's kind of like in the situation that Cam Newton's in. They're both struggling with weapons. Lamar gets it done most of the time with his feet, and he can get it done through the air. I just think he needs a wide receiver one to be able to be successful, and Hollywood's not doing much for him at all this year.
Yeah, no doubt. And that defense has really been lackluster the past couple of games. But moving on to the next and final game, Minnesota versus Chicago. It wasn't a bad game. Nick Foles got carted off. He's injured now, so we don't know if Mitch is coming back or if they're going to start some other guy, but it doesn't look good for Nick Foles. Really a rough week for injuries for quarterbacks. You know, the thing that happened with Drew Brees, ribs and a punctured lung. But yeah, I mean, I expected Dalvin Cook to not dominate, but I expected him to at least do something. And I think he had 15. Minnesota has been going on a little bit of a run. But they would have to win out insanely for them. So yeah, the main thing I want to bring up about this is this Chicago team. They're 500. I'm pretty sure they're 500. I'm pretty sure now they're 5-5.
5-5.
I mean, what's the chance they make the playoffs now? I mean, they look horrible right now.
Yeah, the defense can only carry you so much, and they're a perfect example of that. Offense has been so bad. I think they started off 5-1 and they lose 4 straight and could even continue that. They're coming off they have a bye this week. Hopefully they can figure something out. I mean, with Trubisky, without Trubisky. I think Nick Foles' injury wasn't as serious as everyone thought about it. I read up on it a little bit this morning, and it wasn't too serious. He might miss a week or two. But Trubisky's going to get some time, and hopefully he can turn things around for this offense, what Nick Foles obviously wasn't doing. Bears need a spark, man. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's got to be somebody.
Yeah, knowing Trubisky, he'll probably have one game that'll be oh, it looks a little bit promising, and then throw 3 interceptions in the first quarter. But then before we get into some of the other topics, I want to get into my defensive player of the week. Is a guy from the Rams, a guy I've never heard of, which it seems like most of these guys are. Darius Williams for the Los Angeles Rams. He didn't really do much on the tackle side, but he's a cornerback, and he picked off Russell Wilson 2 times and had 3 pass deflections. He had a great week. Really was the cornerstone for how that Los Angeles Rams defense kind of basically set them up for success. So I'm going to give the award to Darius Williams. What about you?
I'm going to go with Darius Williams also. He won that game for them. The defense won the game for them. They stopped Russell Wilson. That makes it even more of a better performance against Russell Wilson. Wilson was making some bad decisions, but it's still a pretty feat to pick him off twice in a game. Uh, Pretty young quarterback. Pretty impressive performance by Darius Williams. And you
No
want me
doubt.
to say my offensive player of the week?
Oh, go
Because
ahead.
I don't think we got into his game. I'm going to go ahead and go with Josh Jacobs with 136 total yards and 2 touchdowns. Could have been even better without that pest Devontae Booker. I talk about him every week. That guy's annoying. Jacobs, he could be the leading rusher if it wasn't for that guy. He would get all the passing yards on that team. Jacobs is doing really well this year. He had a few bad games, but he's really stepping up and starting to get into the end zone a lot. Yeah, you could say Hopkins because of that huge catch, and you could say Kamara, but I wasn't impressed with Kamara. I mean, he got the 3 touchdowns, but he
He was
only
very
had
bad on the ground. He was
yeah,
very
he
poor
had
on
like
the ground.
15 he had like 15 yards on the ground. That's not offensive worthy for me, especially if you're a running back. That's just not that's not too good.
Could have given it to Cole Beasley, honestly, with how good he looked in that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple of the other things to touch on this week. AB drama once again. We don't know how that's going to unfold, but apparently this happened like a couple of weeks before Tampa. It was something with like he threw a bike at a security camera or something. It's AB. I hope that Tom Brady's kind of like nursing him and telling him to just keep calm, take your pills and just catch passes. Because I don't think AB looked too bad in that previous Carolina game. I think he had like 13, because we run through PPR, so it might be different for y'all, but he had like 13 points in our league, so doesn't look bad. I mean, he doesn't look like prime AB, of course, because he's coming back from not playing for a year, but AB doesn't look horrible. And then DeAndre Baker, if you don't know who this guy was, he was a young cornerback for the New York Giants, and he got released from the team because he was dealing with a lot of troubles. If you didn't know, he and I believe it was Quentin Dunbar got into a little, just a dispute or whatever, and they were accused of robbery. Yeah, you're an NFL cornerback making millions of dollars, and in the crime you get caught with is robbery. Really? That just boggles my mind. But Baker, all charges were dropped, so now a lot of teams are out there in the feeding pool. You got the Chiefs, I believe, the 49ers, and of course my Dallas Cowboys. We always get brought up in everything just to do nothing, so it's not like it'll affect our season or anything. But yeah, I mean, just wanted to put that out there as a little bit of pieces of news. But let's get into Week 11, starting off with Thursday Night Football. Thank you, football gods, for making me excited for Thursday. Arizona, Seattle. Woo, this is going to be such a good game. I want to hear what you got on this game.
Yeah, finally, man, we get excited for Thursday night. Like you said, we saw this matchup already once, and it was a great game. The game of the week when they last played. It's going to be fun. See if Russell Wilson can step it up and make up for his bad performance last game. And he's going to be a high scoring matchup, hopefully, and hopefully it gives us something good to watch on Thursday night.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm gonna go with a little bit of a risky pick here. It's not really risky either way because they're both still great teams. But I'm gonna go Seattle here. I think Seattle's gonna have a grudge against that last game. They feel like they shouldn't have lost that last game, and they're gonna be a little bit pissed off. More specifically, Russell Wilson. He basically ruined that game for them that last time around. And last week he threw 2 picks and no touchdowns. I would expect a big game from Russell Wilson this week, especially with how poor that passing defense has been over there in Arizona. So I'm going to take Seattle. What about you?
Let's go. I'm gonna go with the Cardinals. Actually, I'm gonna stick with the hot hand. They're playing well. They almost lost to the Bills, who are a great team. They stuck with them though. Hopefully their defense can step up and somehow hold Russell Wilson. I know you said he's gonna be hungry, but I'm gonna stick with the Cardinals this week. Hopefully they can win. I wouldn't mind seeing them go to the top of that division.
And then Baltimore, Tennessee. Lamar, this is your last chance, especially at least for fantasy owners. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. But yeah, Baltimore matchup. Lamar, he can, to get out the pocket and run around a little bit. But also this Tennessee defense just overall sucks. But I don't trust the Baltimore offense. I really don't. And after what the Patriots were able to do against the Baltimore defense, you're going up against a substantially better offense over there in Tennessee. And with how bad your weapons are, pretty much anybody could cover Marquise Brown. So I'm going to go with a little bit of a hot hand. I'm going to go Tennessee here. I feel like, flashback last year, Derrick Henry ran all over them. I don't feel like it's going to be an absolute clinic from him because that's all they did back then. And I feel like now A.J. Brown looks a lot better. I feel like he could have a little bit of a bounce back game, probably not a great game, but maybe get into the end zone. If not, get over 100 receiving yards, get some good production out of him. So I'm going to go Tennessee this week. What about you?
Yeah, give me Tennessee also. They had a pretty good game against the Colts last week. They played really well in the first half. I think they can beat the Ravens, obviously. The Ravens are pretty cold right now, coming off the loss to the Patriots. I think Henry can gash them maybe for a long touchdown, get them ahead early, and then they're just going to feast on the ground all game with him, hopefully, for my sake in fantasy.
And then a big matchup here, a battle of one of the best offenses against one of the best defenses. Green Bay, Indiana. Nobody can stop Davante Adams. Well, except for Xavier Rhodes, because he's been playing great, and he locked down A.J. Brown. The Colts are probably about the only matchup that I'd be like, look, Davante Adams, of course he isn't a sit, like when it comes to fantasy or anything, but Davante Adams might not have that big of a game. He might not be that go-to guy because he might not be getting open. And then Aaron Jones, I don't think he has a good week this week. So I'm going to go Indiana this week against Green Bay.
I don't know about that pick, Brett. I think I got to stick with Green Bay. Did Green Bay end up getting the win last week?
Yeah, they barely scratched out with the win against Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Against Jacksonville, though, that might change my decision, but I still got to go Green Bay in that game. I trust Rodgers and I trust Davante Adams.
Yeah, I mean, Rodgers is a great quarterback, and I really do feel like taking on a defense of this caliber would prove them, but I like Indiana, and more specifically, Nyheim Hines looks great. You never know what Jonathan Taylor's going to do. I mean, he gets 100% snap count in like the first 3 drives and then just disappears for the whole game. But I feel like Nyheim Hines or Jonathan Taylor is really going to pull them together. And Michael Pittman Jr. looked good in that last game. Zach Pascal. I don't know where the hell T.Y. Hilton's gone, but, it really just depends on whoever's not on Jair Alexander. It's probably going to break out for a couple of good plays. I feel like Indiana's got this in the bag. And then the Sunday Night Football game, this is a really great span of games that we got this week. Chiefs, Las Vegas this week for Sunday Night Football. Chiefs lost this battle last time around, but the Las Vegas defense still cannot stop the run. But they did. They did look really good last week against the Broncos, but the Broncos don't really have that great of an O-line to create a good run game. So I'm going to go Chiefs here. I think I'm going to fight back, even though the Chiefs lost in Arrowhead to Las Vegas, and that's never really good to hear, especially when you're talking about a divisional matchup. I do still feel like the Chiefs coming back from a bye, they're hungry. I wouldn't be surprised Clyde Edwards-Helaire have a big game. Hey, maybe Le'Veon Bell decides to finally make some noise. Who knows? But I'm going to go Chiefs against the Raiders here.
Yeah, coming off the bye week, I got to go to the Chiefs. They're well rested. The Raiders did beat them last time, but the Raiders haven't been too impressive lately to where I would pick them over the Kansas City Chiefs.
No doubt about that. And then Monday Night Football, another good game. This is weird. This is really weird. Monday night looks so good. Los Angeles versus Tampa Bay. I mean, we got a bunch of good primetime games this week. Los Angeles defense has looked great. Their secondary has looked phenomenal. Their run defense, it's been patchy sometimes. They gave up a lot of points over to Zeke at the beginning of the year, but then they'll shut down some other guys. It's just some other running backs. Their defense, when it comes to the run, is very iffy. But I feel like the weapons that they have over there in Tampa are too good to not get some plays. And I do still like Tampa Bay's defense, more specifically that rookie cornerback that they got over there. So I'm gonna go Tampa Bay in this matchup here.
Yeah, you know me. I ain't picking against Tampa Bay. I love Tampa Bay, man. They shut down the Seahawks receivers and Wilson, but Tampa Bay has so many weapons that you can only cover but so many of them. I mean, you got even a good tight end, Gronk, along with that 3-headed monster of receivers. So I got to hammer Tampa Bay.
But guys, that is it for today's episode of the Heat Chat Podcast. As always, make sure you tune in tomorrow. We're going to be hitting you with everything fantasy, and we're also going to be doing things a little bit different. We'll talk to you about that next episode, but you got to make sure you're tuned in. Also, make sure you're subscribed. Hit that so you know when we upload. Like the video, of course, if you like it. And as always, we'll see y'all guys tomorrow. Peace.